Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the Future Fund Board of Governors for waiving the rules to allow delegations today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you all today. We're here to talk about the future, but I'd just like to start with some words from the past. I grew up in Hamilton on a small street on the south side of York Street. My family still lives in the same house, on the same street, in the same neighborhood. My parents have called this neighborhood home for 70 years. 3 generations of hot-headed, working-class jelly men and strong McCabe women settled here and raised their families. My parents worked hard to raise me and my brother. I was born in the midst of the 1982 recession, just as my father was being laid off from his job. My parents worked their whole lives, as hard as they could, to do the right thing, to raise children and raise their children well. They paid their taxes, they bought our house in 1963, and through thick and thin, they made it work, and they did their part, and I love them dearly for it. We found out last week that we've been living just blocks from a toxic waste dump for the last 15 years. I grew up knowing in my heart that something was wrong with this city. The downtown I grew up in was falling apart. Many people who had the money to do so moved away from downtown. The stores left. The people left. This thing's not working. Down that? Oh, I see. And we sprawled out into oblivion. But some of the people stayed behind to live their lives. Property values dropped, and downtown was left behind. Some of us who grew up here have been told our whole lives that downtown has no hope. Some of us who grew up here have heard the jokes about downtown our whole lives. Some of us who grew up here have given our downtown a chance that no one else would. Some of us have come from faraway lands to make a life in Canada and have settled into these old neighborhoods to start a new life, to start a new future. Now let's talk about that future. For the past 6 months and now maybe longer, our attention has been on a stadium. 8 years ago, the Future Fund was established with 3 strategic investment priorities: to grow Hamilton's economic base, to enhance Hamilton's social fabric, and enhance community life. This fund was set aside to be available for projects agreed to be in the community's interest. Let me ask you then, is this a community? Is this a community? Is this a community? Is this a neighborhood? Is this a neighborhood? Is this a neighborhood? Let me ask you all again. We all have children in our lives, and I'm not a mother or father, but imagine some of you are. Look in your hearts. Think about your own children. Think about your own grandchildren. Is it fair that any child in this city should have to grow up across the road from this kind of nightmare? What is the Future Fund for? How can we make good on the promise that Hamilton will someday be the best place to raise a child if this goes unnoticed by a $1 billion a year corporation? As a young person who has dedicated my life to this city, I ask you, what is our future? How long do we have to wait? We used to have a saying around here. It's actually our city motto, inscribed on our coat of arms. Together aspire, together achieve. Tonight, there will be children who will go to sleep across the road from unguarded toxic chemical pits. In our city, in our country, beside a fire they had no part in starting. I was one of those children, and I ask you to assert our future. Make good on the promises made to us across generations. As a young person who intends to spend my future in Hamilton, as another hot-headed jelly man who intends to raise a future generation of hot-headed jelly men and women, As an artist, as a lover and a fighter, as a young person who cares deeply about the future of this city, I ask the Board of Governors to reverse their decision and to direct the future funds to a mission altogether more important than building a stadium. These problems are complex and issues will take years to unravel, but the future fund must be guarded closely from those who would spend it on a millionaire and his team, all for a gain. Give us our neighborhoods back. Make good on this promise. Do in your heart what you know is right. Good afternoon and good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Shelley.